Manana Situos, colleagues, Imina Trentashetin, a legislature in Guam is back from recess. As I look at it, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. We have 7 on session floor right now. I'm going to call a moment's recess, and so we can get another colleague in. We are on a moment's recess. Two are not. Emina Trenta Shetty, the legislature in Guam is back from recess. Senator Joe San Augustine, Assistant Majority Leader, I will recognize you at this time.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Notwithstanding the House rules and the agenda set, that we move Resolution 179-37 and Resolution 260-37 up to the agenda so that the others don't lose their place in the agenda, and we just move on from there. Thank you.
On that motion, are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. At this time, colleagues, we are now on Resolution 179-37. Senator Jesse Lahan, I will recognize you at this time.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Happy Tuesday. Motion to place Resolution 179 on the third reading file, and I'd like to speak on it, Madam Speaker.
On the third reading file, thank you, Senator Lund. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning again, colleagues. Resolution 179-37 LS, sponsored by myself, Senator Barnett, Senator Sabina Flores-Perez, Roy A.B. Canata, Dwayne T.D. Nicholas, Joanne Brown, William A. Parkinson, Tello T. Taitagui, Christopher M. Duenas, Frank Blas Jr., Tina Rose Mooney Barnes, Joe S. San Augustine, Teresa M. Talahi, and Thomas J. Fisher, relative to requesting the United States Congress and the Biden administration to favorably consider providing multi-year funding needed to harden Guam's infrastructure to meet the goals of insulation resiliency and to ensure Guam is capable of withstanding future natural and man-made threats and disaster. Colleagues, not only do we face the threat, of course, of nations, of course, such as North Korea and China, but also we have natural disasters that we had just seen, of course, last year, that not only affected the civilian side of our power grid, but also on the military side. We are one Guam. Of course, our power is integrated. We are not a segregated power or water. So my fellow colleagues, I come to you today, of course, with an urgent plea to safeguard the future of Guam and support the resolution that seeks to address the security and resilience of our island. Resolution 179-37 LS highlights the pressing need for sustained multi-year funding to harden Guam's infrastructure and strengthen our position as a key player in the Indo-Pacific theater. Hardening our infrastructure is not only about investing in the security and resiliency of our island, Guam, but also investing in the security and resilience of our nation. With our island's pivotal role in the Indo-Pacific, fortifying our island's infrastructure should be at the center of national security and strategic interests of the United States. Bolstering our defenses to withstand threats of multiple fronts from both natural disasters and man-made crises is imperative. The urgency is clear. With the ever-evolving geopolitical landscape, the importance of infrastructure resilience cannot be overstated. We can't ignore the recovery efforts post-Typhoon Mawar and the cybersecurity attacks we suffered last year. The challenges we face are diverse and require robust and proactive measures. The well-being of both our military operations, the civilian populace, depend on upgraded infrastructure. And I ask you to support in urging Congress to fortify Guam and invest in our power, water, and communication system for the benefit of a stronger island and a stronger nation. And again, Madam Speaker, most everybody is listed as co-sponsors here, but I urge my colleagues to support this resolution, and we send it off to, of course, to Congress. We urgently need this. Again, we are one Guam. We are not a segregated power grid. We are integrated, and it's very vital, not only for the civilian side, but the military side as well. So again, with that, Madam Speaker, thank you very much, and I urge, again, my colleagues to vote on Resolution 17937 LS. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Si Diyos si Senator Lujan, on the main resolution 179-37, does anyone wish to speak? Does anyone wish to speak? Senator Chris Barnett, Mananasitus, you have the floor.
Mananasitus, Madam Speaker, and good morning to the people of Guam. I want to say good morning to Miss Lori down in Malolo across the transfer station. I want to kindly ask the trash truck drivers there to refrain from blowing on the horn so much because Auntie's trying to relax. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of the resolution, and I'm not sure what efforts the administration is undergoing relative to the hardening of our utilities, but I definitely commend the author, and I thank him for allowing me to be a co-sponsor on this measure, because I think with everything that's going on with the military buildup and all the talk about the Missile Defense Agency and obviously the looming threat of China, it behooves the federal government to make more significant investments into our island. And when we talk about our utilities, I think it's time to get hard, Guam. We're way late on this, and I know that this effort has seen traction in areas outside the legislature. I know that Simon Sanchez has engaged in talks with DOD about the hardening of the utilities, but I think as a body, we also have to communicate what we can communicate to the federal government and to the Congress. And I obviously think that this is something that unfortunately we should have already seen underway, because if we're the tip of the spear, we got to be hard, and our utilities have to be reliable. Our water has to be reliable, and we cannot, in this day and age, go through a situation that we went through with Typhoon Mawar, where, in the span of a few hours, the softness of our utilities was seen. And so, when we talk about elevating our island and all of the investments being made inside the fence line on the bases, I think that the federal government has a responsibility and an obligation to make sure that those improvements and those benefits are enjoyed by everybody across the island, no matter what side of the fence they may live on. And so I encourage this effort to harden up our island, and I hope that our entering in this conversation and our speaking to the Congress and our letting them know that we're ready to be hardened here on Guam, it's very important, and I'm very grateful that I'm part of this conversation. So again, I commend the author for introducing it. I thank him for allowing me to be a co-sponsor, and I hope that my colleagues, it's really a no-brainer. If there's anything we're going to say to the Congress about, the state of our utilities, hardening them up is definitely the right thing to say. Si Diyos masi, Madam Speaker.
Buen provecho, Senator Barnett. On the main resolution, I will acknowledge Senator Chris Duenas. Please proceed. Good morning.
Si Diyos masi, Madam Chair, and good morning to you, and half a day to the people of Guam that are watching today, and certainly rise in full support of 17937. Madam Speaker, it was really nice to see the testimony from CCU member Simon Sanchez, as well as John Beneventi, the GPA General Manager. And I got a sense from them that timing is everything. There's this discussion happens after every natural disaster, every typhoon. And, why don't we go underground? Why don't we go underground? And a lot of the feedback that we would get oftentimes is because it's just so expensive. And, the cost-benefit analysis and the type of investment that the people of Guam would have to put in, and really basically the rates that would have to be charged on top of already the situation that we have with some of the most expensive power in the region. It just wasn't economically feasible. But I think now, Madam Chair, given the fact that there is significant buildup, there is significant things happening in this part of the world that really changes the dynamics in terms of what reliable 24/7 operation of power means. And so I think this resolution will go a long way to heightening the exposure within Congress, within the United States Congress, and the understanding, and I'm sure that Department of Defense officials will advocate for this greatly, Madam Chair. The other thing is we now have significant investment with additional cables coming into Guam, high-speed cables that are passing through Guam and, of course, connecting to CONUS. And with the economic opportunities to expand our economy and to have more internet-based and technology opportunities in terms of jobs and additional businesses, the biggest problem that is always stated in terms of the ability to move on, to get an investor like a Google or some of the other large-scale investors in tech, is reliable power. And so I think that it behooves us, as we now have our new power plant coming online, according to the CCU and according to Guam Power Authority, this is going to be a tremendous benefit to us in terms of this power plant and sustainability. But that will not change transmission and distribution. Transmission and distribution will always be affected by weather and other conditions. So I think just really leading to the final analysis, Madam Speaker, of course, to take care of our people. Everybody right now, and we know the reason for it, but with the intermittent power outages and what we've been going through as we crawl our way towards the new power plant and sustainable power, it's a nuisance. But of course, after storms, it's a significant nuisance. And so really, in the end, it really comes down to, other than just the economic benefits and the fact that we have this, now greater sense of obligation and greater sense of urgency with the volatility of the region we live in and with the military assets coming to Guam. In the end, really, it is about a quality of life for our people. And I think that when we put all those things together, hopefully with this resolution, we can compel Congress to see the wisdom in this and begin the investment. In closing, Madam Chair, this actually is, the issue of infrastructure is really, at the moment, talking about timing is everything, is really at the top of the list of discussion within Congress and even as, of course, as high as the President's office as well. So I think we're in the sweet spot, if you will. And now Senator Lujan, along with many of us in this body, I think have taken a very responsible approach to get the exposure by sending this to Washington, D.C. and saying Guam is asking for the opportunity for funding, to have this funded, and for all the reasons that many of us have stated. So for that reason, I'm very encouraged by this resolution, and I hope that it brings about the change that we seek. Sidus Masi, Madam Chair.
Buen Pobetsu, Senator Dueñas. On the main resolution, Senator Taitigui, you are recognized. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, and good morning to my colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity to stand up and rise in support of the resolution. I think everyone realizes what happened after Typhoon Marwa, that we are very still vulnerable. And this resolution basically speaks to that. You know, this is not just hardening up our infrastructure. I mean, in fact, I don't even like to use the word hardening up. I like to use words like resilient, effective, sustainable. And that's exactly what we need to be. And it's not just inside the fence, as my good colleagues mentioned earlier, outside the fence. We all know about this missile defense system that is planning on coming to Guam in different locations, 20 locations around the island. The previous colleague talked about the importance of actually just cybersecurity is going to be very important, but the fiber optic cables coming into Guam, the use of more technology is going to be used here. So our infrastructure is very, very, very important at this point. Cybersecurity is very important. Resilient, effective, sustainable. That's where we need to be on this island. And the federal government keeps talking about the importance of our island, our geographical location is very important. Then it's time they put their money where their mouth is and bring in the infrastructure needed to address these certain circumstances on Guam when we have natural disasters, where we're not fully equipped with the fiber optic cables or have strong cyber optic and cybersecurity in place. So I thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to express my concern on this. And I'd like to thank the author who created this legislation to bring to light to the federal government the importance of our infrastructure and the need. So thank you for the opportunity, and I thank the author of this legislation for including me as a co-sponsor. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're very welcome, Senator Chaidegui. On the main motion, anyone else wishing to speak? If not, Senator Lahan, you may close.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, my colleagues, again, for standing up and supporting the resolution. Again, as was previously mentioned, you know, we got a new power plant that will be coming on shortly, and that being said, supposedly, of course, the newest, or basically state-of-the-art at this point for us anyways. That being said, we need, of course, state-of-the-art hardening of the rest of our infrastructure as well. We need to keep up with that. We see the vulnerability. I mean, we've seen this for years, Madam Speaker, not only this Mawar, but all other typhoons that we've seen in regards to our vulnerability with that. But not only, again, with that, with our natural disasters, but also, again, with, again, the situation with the Indo-Pacific and the threat that has to, again, to Guam being the tip of the spear. And as previously mentioned, of course, again, our power is not segregated. We are a integrated system here. And so what is good for the military is good for the civilian. What's good for the civilian is good for the military as well. We are one Guam when it comes to our infrastructure, with power, water. We are one. So again, that being said, I want to thank my colleagues for the support, and I look forward to, again, when we go and vote and send this to Congress, and hopefully we get our congressmen to push this forward and get Congress to, on an annual basis, give us some funding going towards, again, hardening our infrastructure in Guam. With that being said, Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
Senator Lujan, can you move it to the third reading voting file?
Madam Speaker, I move to place resolution number
179.
Yeah, 179. I'm already in my next resolution. Sorry about that. 179 to the voting file.
Resolution 179-37LS to the voting file. Are there any objections on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries. Colleagues, we are now on Resolution 260-37LS. It's sponsored by Senator Jesse A. Lahan. Senator Jesse, you are recognized at this time.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I motion place resolution number 260-37LS, third reading file, and I would like to speak on that.
Senator Lahan, you may speak.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, resolution number 260-37LS, sponsored by myself, and I must apologize to my colleagues, because this resolution actually just is in support of House Resolution 837, sponsored by our Congressman Moylan, and I needed to get this, get it numbered and introduced as soon as possible to try to get our public hearing as soon as possible to be able to support the efforts that was made by our Congressman on the House. So again, I'm the only author at this point, but it wasn't meant just to be myself. I just needed to get it in and get it numbered and get a public hearing with that. So anyone else that would want to come on, I'm sure everyone would want to come on as well with that. But resolution 260-37LS, Madam Speaker, is relative to supporting Guam's efforts in Congress with House Resolution 837. Introduced in the United States House of Representatives, which seeks to reaffirm the ties between the United States and the Philippines and to further support the U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Commitment. Madam Speaker, of course, the Philippine Council had spoken in high support of this resolution. You know, Madam Speaker, we have a very good relationship now with the Philippines, with the new administration in place. And likewise, Guam, we have been speaking with one voice, not only the administration, but previous governor as well. And this goes a long ways to support our efforts in trying to seek, as was introduced in this 37th Guam Legislature, our Guam-only Philippine visa waiver as well. It shows our intense commitment and our brotherhood and sisterhood commitment between Guam and the Philippines and U.S. and the Philippines. You know, just recently, of course, our Congressman Moylan met with, of course, the Philippine president and some of his cabinet members in Washington, D.C. And likewise, we're in the process of arranging a meeting also with the president of the Philippines and cabinet members and some congressional members as well to reaffirm our relationship with the Philippines and pushing forth, of course, our Guam-only Philippine visa waiver. But with this resolution, Madam Speaker, fellow colleagues, again, I ask you to join me in supporting Resolution 260-37LS, which rallies behind Guam's efforts in Congress with House Resolution 837, sponsored, of course, by Congressman Moylan, and reinforces the bonds between the Philippines and the United States in times of uncertainty and adversity. Guam and the Philippines share a deep connection that extends beyond mere diplomacy and encompasses culture, economics, familial ties, and a partnership that enriches both regions. The recent tension in the South China Sea underscore the need to reiterate the commitment of the United States in supporting the Philippines. China's encroachment on Philippine sovereignty is an act of aggression that warrants an appropriate and clear response from the United States to maintain regional peace, stability, and adherence to international law. Given the proximity, interconnected nature of our island's security concerns, and the relationship between Guam and the Philippines, is important for us to reaffirm our support and the invocation of the Mutual Defense Treaty in the face of any armed attack against the Philippines and endorse swift implementation of the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. And with that, Madam Speaker, I ask again my colleagues to support resolution number 260-37LS and support regional peace and stability. With that, Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
Anyone else wishing to speak on the resolution? Anyone else? If not, Senator, would you like
yeah.
to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I move to add all senators in this resolution, Madam Speaker. Again, with my apologies, it's not meant to, wasn't meant to be the only one, but thank you very much.
On that motion, are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. On the motion to place into the voting file.
Madam Speaker, motion to place Resolution 360-37 LS in the third reading file.
On that
And for the vote.
motion to place Resolution 260-37 LS into the third reading voting file, are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much, colleagues. Next on the agenda, we will entertain the bill number 198-37 LS. Legislative Secretary, Majority Leader Shelton, you are recognized.
Sejus Masi, Madam Speaker, I move to recess at this time until 2 p.m. We do have a resolution presentation in a little bit at the court today.
On the motion, there was an objection, and motion fails. Senator Shelton, on bill number 198-37 LS.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Yes. What do you want to do? Sejus Masi, Madam Speaker. I move to place Bill 198-37 LS as amended by the Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation, Labor, Procurement and Statistics, Research and Planning to the third reading file, and I ask for a moment to discuss the bill.
No problem, Secretary Amanda, but can you just read the title first before, and then you can proceed.
Bill 198-37 LS, as amended, is an act to amend Section 3116 of Chapter 3, Title 16, Guam Code Annotated, relative to requiring the distribution of driver's handbooks to Guam public high schools.
Please proceed.
Sejus Masi, Madam Speaker. Bill 198-37 again requires the Department of Revenue and Taxation to provide public high school students with access to copies of the DRT Operator's Handbook. Originating as Bill 9 from the 34th Guam Youth Congress, the bill as amended requires DRT, in coordination with the Department of Education and the Guam Public Library System, to provide these materials as a learning resource to DOE high school students via our public schools and Guam Public Library System branches in Hagåtña, Derido, Hague, and Malesu. Currently, the Department of Revenue and Taxation is authorized to charge $5 per operator's handbook, which is the same cost for a chauffeur's handbook and motorcycle handbook. Bill 198-37 requires DRT to provide these materials to our high school students free of charge. While I recognize that BBMR, through information provided in the bill's fiscal note, anticipates a fiscal impact if this proposal is approved, I'm confident that DOE and the Guam Public Library System will work collaboratively and creatively with DRT and other agencies to help more of our students gain access to printed or electronic copies of the Operator's Handbook. Bill 198-37 as amended recognizes the importance of supporting students who are working toward obtaining a driver's license, particularly as they and their families explore ways to secure transportation to and from classes, after-school sports, and academic activities. According to comments offered by Youth Speaker Lily Vinch during the public hearing on Bill 198-37, the steps involved in acquiring a driver's license are of utmost importance for young individuals, as it is a significant milestone that marks their transition into adulthood. Youth Speaker Vinch further shared that many students face significant barriers when it comes to accessing the necessary resources to prepare for their driving test. And the goal of Bill 198-37 as amended is to ensure that all students, regardless of their background or circumstances, have equal access to the resources they need to prepare for their driving test and acquire their license. With that, Madam Speaker, and consistent with our broader efforts to assist our youth and families, including a measure on this month's agenda waiving official government identification card fees for high school seniors and juniors and foster children, and another bill requiring high school seniors to apply for federal financial aid, I ask my colleagues to support the proposal before us, which provides high school students with free access to the DRT Operator's Handbook. Sijus Masi, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. On the main motion, Senator Taitigui, you are recognized.
Sijus Masi, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I do have a question to the author of the legislation.
Please state your question.
Is there any opportunity for these to be placed online so students can actually go online? Nowadays, everybody uses their phone and their computers to provide this information that they're talking about. And I do realize that these books will be at the library, it'll be at the school, but you know, we want to save a tree. Why print so many books if they can go online? But nothing in here indicates to allow Rep and Tax to be able to provide this information online for the students. So is it an amendment that's needed? I'm not sure.
Senator Teddy, I'm going to ask the Secretary to yield the author. I think she spoke about it earlier. Please, would you like to answer that question, Madam Secretary?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As some of our Youth Congress representatives shared, they are able to access the driver's handbook online through DRT, and when the Guam Public Library System director testified, he said that it is possible for the public library system, as they are going to be coordinating with DOE, to make it available online. Just last week, we were at the library proclamation. He shared with us the app that they have, the website that they have, all of these resources now through our Guam Public Library System that they will be able to access the driver's license handbook there as well.
Thank you, Secretary Shelton. Senator Tadigree, does that suffice?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for answering my questions. I just want to make sure, whenever there's money involved, this is $49,000 according to BBMR that it's going to cost. But to me now, with technology, it sounds like it's not even going to cost close to a couple $100. So yeah, I have no problem with this legislation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome, Senator Tadigree. Senator Fisher on the main motion.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have a question for my friend Senator Shelton.
Yes, please state your question, sir.
Madam Speaker, is it true that this legislation originated in the Guam Youth Congress?
Senator Shelton, Secretary, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I yield to the question. As I stated in my opening, this originated as Bill number 9 from the 34th Guam Youth Congress. It was passed by their body, transmitted to the legislature, and I introduced it on their behalf at the request of the Youth Congress from the committee, from my committee.
Thank you very much. Senator Fisher, you still have the floor. Does that suffice? Thank you very much, Speaker. And I would also like to thank my friend Senator Shelton for the answer. A follow-up question, ma'am.
Please proceed with the question.
Yes. Does my friend agree that this legislation, as proposed by the Guam Youth Congress, reflects well on that Congress and the thoughtfulness of the members?
Senator Shelton, would you like to yield?
Absolutely, I yield to the question, Madam Speaker. And I do believe that it reflects well on the body of the Youth Congress as they are here, elected by their peers to represent their peers. And so the Guam Youth Congress represents the interests of the youth of Guam, as many of them are graduating seniors, or students about to either learn how to drive or get their license. This is something that is obviously of great concern and importance to them.
Senator Fisher, does that suffice?
Yes, it does, Madam Speaker, and I have a follow-up question.
Please state your question.
Madam Speaker, does my friend Senator Shelton agree that this is, in fact, a very good bill that is well thought out and is designed to protect our youth as well as all people of Guam?
Senator Shelton?
Madam Speaker, yes, I yield to the question. As I also stated in my opening remarks, that yes, this is a good bill for the youth of Guam. It is a bill that will break down barriers for our young people who may be faced with financial difficulties, or maybe, within their family, or just going through a rough time trying to get their driver's permit and their license. And of course, this is a bill for the safety of the entire island, because we want our young people to be educated, and we want them to be the best drivers they can be as they head out onto our roads.
Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Shelton. Senator Fisher?
Yes, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much. And just one further question. Would my friend Senator Shelton express, I hate to speak for the entire body, but would my friend Senator Shelton extend the congratulations of the members to the Guam Youth Congress with our thanks?
I will absolutely. Thank you
Yes,
very much, Madam Speaker. I will absolutely extend your commendation to the Guam Youth Congress. I know that the previous speaker has been very supportive of the work of the Guam Youth Congress. He was here even during our Island Leadership Day to help with our mock session, and he was very impressed by the work of our young leaders, and I will send those regards along for him.
Thank you, Secretary Shelton. Senator Fisher, you still have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on the main motion? Senator Roy, you are recognized at this time.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just rise in support of our manhole bin. It's definitely a very fruitful legislation that we can deliver to our younger generation. And as a member of the 27th and 26th Youth Congress, I think it's valid that we support our younger generation and being a voice on the legislative floor. So I just wanted to commend my colleague for pushing out this legislation and commend the younger generation for stepping up and serving our people of Guam. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kanata. Anyone else on the main motion? Senator Joseph Augustine, Assistant Majority Leader, then Senator Barnett. Senator San Augustine, you are recognized.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I just got a question for the author.
Please state your question.
In reference to DOE, I was just looking at the bill, and it refers to DOE is going to work with DRT to get the books out, or how's the program?
I will ask, would you like to yield, Secretary Shelton?
I can yield, yes, Madam Speaker. That's correct to the question posed. DOE is tasked with working with the Department of Revenue and Taxation and now the Guam Public Library System to help disseminate these to our high school students. So whether that's putting the books in the school libraries or giving them through the online access, they will coordinate with each other to make it happen.
Thank you, Legislative Secretary Shelton.
All right. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Okay, thanks. Our only concerns that because currently our youth that requires or is getting a driver's license has to go to the driver's school. They'll get a book and so forth. But I just like the idea that it's going to be available because we also have adults that are driving out there that needs a reminder. of what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. So this actually benefits everybody, not just the youth, but even the adults. And I stand in full support of this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Jesus Masi is Senator San Agustin. Senator Barnett, on the main motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I too rise in support of this measure, and I had a question of clarification for the author, if she would yield.
Please proceed with your question.
I just wanted to maybe, and if we could even amend here, where it says the Department of Revenue and Taxation shall, in coordination with the Department of Education and the Guam Public Library System, provide public high school students. I just wanted to ask, does the author believe that that includes the charter schools, or should we put in those two words just to really make sure that they'll be able to avail of this program as well? Because I know, for example, down at Career Tech, they have a great program with their Deaf Academy, and they actually have started doing driver's education instruction for the Deaf Academy students. So I just want to make sure that, you know, we, on the side of caution, ensure that everybody's included. So does the author agree?
Thank you, Senator Burnett. Legislative Secretary Shelton, would you like to respond to that inquiry?
Sedus Masi, Madam Speaker. Yes, I yield to the question. And it is my understanding that charter schools are in fact public schools of our island. So I am not opposed to adding the verbiage so that it is extra clear that we are also including our charter schools. However, I know in my heart that they are already included, but I will make that motion now, if you'll allow, and just save a tree, Department of Education and charter schools.
On that motion, and I'll take that motion to save a tree, are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. Senator Barnett, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And, I'd like to thank the author for introducing this measure and further commend the Guam Youth Congress. I know it was said earlier by previous speakers, but and I told them when I was in one of the sessions on a Saturday, they are really kind of where I hope a lot of us look to gauge and see the issues that the youth are talking about, the issues that are affecting the youth. And in some cases, they've actually been ahead of the curve. They've been more ahead on issues, you know, vaping, for example, and even with this driver's handbook. So I, too, want to rise in accommodation of the Guam Youth Congress, and also let everyone in here know that when I talk with a lot of the members, they watch our sessions all the time, and so I think a lot of us could benefit from watching theirs as well, to see kind of what the youth are talking about and what issues they're rallying around and what issues they're trying to push forward to the grown-ups that they share this session hall with. So, Sidus Masi, Madam Speaker.
Buen Pobetsu, Senator Barnett, is there anyone else wishing to speak on the main motion? If not, Legislative Secretary, you may close on the bill.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank all of our colleagues for their support of this measure and, of course, their support of the Guam Youth Congress. We are very proud of the work that they put out and their dedication to their peers and to their body. The previous speaker is right. They meet diligently. They watch us diligently. They are very engaged and involved. And some in the community may think that their bills are a little progressive, really pushing the envelope, and that's because they are. They are thinking about their future, the future of their generation and generations to come for our island. And so I am thankful for them to continue pushing us here in this body as well. And I thank everyone for their support again, and if I can add all members of the 37th Guam Legislature as co-sponsors at this time, ma'am.
On that motion, are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. On the motion to close.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I ask for all of our colleagues' support to vote in favor of this measure, and I move to place it in the voting file.
On that motion, to place number 198-37 LS into the third reading voting file. Are
As
there any
amended
objections?
and further amended on the floor.
And further amended on the floor. Are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, motion carries. Colleagues, we're going to entertain one more bill. Senator Amanda? We'll break at, we'll try and break at 11:30. Senator Amanda on bill number 211-37 COR.
Sedus Masi, Madam Speaker. I move to place Bill 211-37 COR as amended by the Committee on Education, Public Safety, and the Arts to the third reading file, and I ask for the opportunity to discuss. The title of this bill is An Act to Add a New Section 3223 to Article 2 of Chapter 3, Title 17, Guam Code Annotated, relative to prioritizing access to federal financial assistance through the completion of the free application for federal student aid, known as FAFSA, by Guam Department of Education high school seniors.
Please proceed. Thank you.
Sedus Masi, Madam Speaker. The bill, as amended, requires Guam Department of Education seniors beginning in school year 2025-2026 to complete the free application for federal student aid, FAFSA, among other graduation requirements. Madam Speaker, in addition to supporting other measures a few years ago impacting merit scholarships, the Guam Registered Apprentice Program, including pre-apprenticeships, I introduced a similar FAFSA proposal during my first term as I reviewed different ways that we as policymakers could help encourage our high school seniors and their families to consider financial assistance for college and post-high school training opportunities. I believe now, like I believed then, that completing a FAFSA form could mean the difference between a student taking the very first steps in pursuing their dream job, and that same student delaying or deciding against pursuing a degree program or technical training of their choice. Madam Speaker, did I mention that FAFSA is a free process? Because it is. The FAFSA form is available to any student, regardless of income, who wants to consider federal, state, and school financial aid programs. The information submitted with FAFSA is used to determine how much financial aid a student may be eligible to receive, which would include grants, scholarships, work-study funds, and loans. I thank the Education Committee Chair and his office for working with my team in drafting several changes that I believe help strengthen Bill 211. For the benefit of my colleagues and the listening audience, the amendments contained in the bill are as follows. Requires students to apply directly with the U.S. Department of Education, which administers the FAFSA program, and to provide GDOE with a copy of the application receipt. Provide that in no way shall GDOE require or retain any copies of the application or confidential information disclosed on the application. Provide that parents may opt out of the application by an affidavit. Recognize that GDOE may provide assistance in completing the application upon request of the parents, and that none of the confidential information shared by parents is to be retained in any GDOE student records. And require that any person who assists with the completion of the FAFSA form and discloses application details to anyone commits a misdemeanor. Madam Speaker, according to the National College Attainment Network, the high school class of 2023 left more than $4 billion in Pell Grants on the table by not completing a FAFSA form. The National College Attainment Network argues that federal financial aid helps make post-secondary education more affordable for millions of students each year, and leaving billions of dollars in unclaimed Pell Grants on the table may limit students' consideration of all post-secondary pathways that may be available to them or their families. 12 states have enacted a FAFSA requirement for high school seniors, including Louisiana, which began with the class of 2018, Illinois and Alabama in 2021, and Texas in 2022. California and Maryland have implemented their policies in 2023. FAFSA requirements in Connecticut and New Hampshire go into effect this year, with Indiana, Nebraska, and Oklahoma to follow in 2025, and Kansas later in 2028. With respect to those states that have implemented FAFSA requirements, about 59% of Alabama's class of 2021 completed a FAFSA, representing an increase of 25% completions, or about 6,300 additional applications. Illinois had the highest year-over-year percent change of 66% in school year 2020-2021. That's 4,664 additional applications in the state. Louisiana's class of 2018 completed 26% more applications with an additional 7,778 completions. And Texas's completion rate was nearly 63%, which jumped from 50% when it adopted the new policy. When we look at our local school system, the data we received tells us that less than half of our seniors during the past 2 school years submitted a FAFSA form. Clearly, Madam Speaker, more can and should be done to inform GDOE high school seniors about FAFSA and encourage and support those who want to pursue a degree or certificate program. Referencing GCC President Mary Okada's comments during the public hearing on the bill, where she suggested that if 78%, or 1,356 of the 1,739 high school seniors who graduated from our public school system in 2023 submitted a FAFSA form, that level of exposure could change the trajectory of our community in just 1 generation. President Okada shared that beyond the numbers, the process of applying for FAFSA exposes our students to the possibilities beyond their current circumstances. Madam Speaker, in closing, I'll read again into the record information many, if not all of us here are aware of, from the 2022 economic report by Dr. Ruane of the University of Guam. The one issue affecting potential employees in Guam continues to be the large number of otherwise employable individuals who do not participate in the labor force. After excluding retirees, students, and those challenged with childcare or medical issues, the report found approximately 25,000 individuals were potentially employable as of 2022. Among the questions that I've discussed with others throughout our community these past several months is how many of these individuals are unemployable because they thought they could not afford post-high school education, when the reality is if they had completed a FAFSA form, they would have had the ways and means to go to college, technical school, or trade school. Madam Speaker, there's absolutely no cost for Guam students to learn what kind and how much financial aid is available to them for college, technical, or trade schools after they finish high school. There is a proven link between post-secondary school education opening doors to better job opportunities and greater earning power throughout one's working years. Unfortunately, the high cost of obtaining that education is still a barrier to reaching that door. So with your help, Madam Speaker, and the support of our colleagues here today, I know that Bill 211-37 is a way for us to eliminate this barrier. Seduas Masi.
Thank you, Senator Shelton. Is anyone else wishing to speak on the main motion? Is anyone wishing to speak? If not, Legislative Secretary?
On the bill 211-37 as amended, Vice Speaker Munya Barnes, you are recognized.
Sitsus Masi, Madam Speaker, I promise I'll be brief. Madam Speaker, I just want to share that I want to rise to note my support for this Bill 211 and to thank you as the author and the committee for including the exemptions to this new requirement to graduate from public high school. And for the benefit of our listening public, per the amended bill, if a parent or adult student is unable to complete a FAFSA form, or if they certify through an affidavit that they refuse to complete one, then the student can still graduate. I appreciate the measure contemplates legitimate reasons for not doing a student's FAFSA, and in the spirit of democracy and respecting one's private choices, it allows for a student or guardian to opt out of this requirement. And with that being said, Madam Speaker, I just want to say for the record that I personally do encourage all the Guam students to submit their FAFSA so that they can know how much financial aid is available to them to make college tuition more affordable. And I literally want to thank you for bringing this measure to the floor this morning. I was hoping to ask to be a co-sponsor on this measure, but I think in the efforts of just literally making the students understand and know that those who don't have any intention of going to college or want a different career path, that they can opt out and do that, but that this is also very important, and it just gives that outreach to all the students, and again, making sure that all the Department of Education and, of course, the charter schools, so if there's any technical motion that needs to be made to make sure that charter schools are also included, again, I want to do that. So I just support this measure, and thank you for bringing this to the floor.
Is that a motion then, to include charter schools
Yes,
where necessary?
on that motion.
Okay, on the motion to do so without a paper?
Yes,
Okay.
save a tree.
On the motion to include charter schools in the language, any objection?
No objection.
Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you, Sanamasi.
On the bill 211-37, Senator Perez, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I just have a question for legal to maybe address some of the language in this bill. On subsection 4, it states that GDOE must award a high school diploma to a student who is unable to meet the requirements of this section, which is filling out the form. But we have to also keep in mind that high school diplomas are dependent upon completion of credit. So we don't want to give the false instructions or false,
So,
I
Madam,
guess, if we can have a moment's recess to
Madam
provide
Senator, was that to
clarifying
legal
language.
or to the author of the legislation?
Basically, I would like a moment's recess to address
I
the
will allow you
language.
for that moment's recess.
Right, thank you.
Emina Trentasheti na Legislature in Guam is back from recess. I know that legal's still working with our colleague on on an amendment. So, Majority Leader, Legislative Secretary, on the motion.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I move to recess until 2.
Thank you. On that motion, without any objection, motion carries. Thank you, colleagues.